Recently, we've met a few people who moved to small towns in rural France, and I think it's not quite what they imagined it would be.
Yeah, we've been really happy in this environment, but I don't think it's right for everyone or every stage of life.
No, absolutely not. And in this video, we're going to talk about whether or not you should move to rural France and 6 situations specifically where the answer is probably no.
Hi, I'm Raina.
I'm Jason.
We are Baguette Bound, an American family of 3 living in the southwest countryside of France since 2022. On this channel, we talk about moving, adjusting, and enjoying life in France. So, number 1, the very first reason that you should not move to rural France is
if you want to live without a car.
It's not gonna happen.
No.
So I think sometimes in the rural areas, people look at maybe some of the slightly larger cities, like say Bergerac, it's 25,000 people, and they figure the historic core is walkable, and so they can settle there in a more rural countryside
Maybe there's
setting.
a train station, there's probably buses of some kind.
Right, because like from
I can do it.
Yeah, and from Bergerac, you can get to Bordeaux in like an hour on the train, and then from there, obviously, to the airport and things. So, I mean, technically, this is possible, and we know people who are doing it. It's not easy because the public transportation, while still present, much more so, I think, in maybe some smaller towns in the U.S. than I would expect.
For sure.
It's still not super regular. For example, like from our village that's half an hour from Bergerac, technically we can get there on a bus. We have a bus stop in our town of 3,000, but you know how many times a day it comes? Like 4?
4 times.
I think so. So you've got to plan around that, and there's a lot of places that it doesn't go. So for example, towns that are a medium small town. So you're often going to meet people from the surrounding areas, right? And they're going to invite you to dinner. And we've already talked about French dinners can last really late, and there's probably going to be no bus back, and that can be tough.
Even restaurant dinners sometimes can be, the buses can stop running if you're there for a nice lengthy meal, and there's no option to get home other than walking.
Also, the more rural area you're in, even if you're in a little bit bigger city, there's just going to be more things in the area that you're probably going to want to get to in a car. The chateaux, the vineyards, so I mean, you could rent a car, but it's tough. Things are more spread out.
You definitely have to remember that something around 85% of French households own a car. Not every single person owns a car, but car ownership is actually very common. The people that don't own a car, the houses that can get by without one, are all in big cities. They're all very centrally located in those larger cities.
Right.
So just consider that. Reason number 2 that you probably shouldn't move to rural France
is if you're looking for a place where there's a lot of support in English. I think we've noticed recently, especially after we've talked about somehow our area specifically has kind of a bigger international mix of people, of Anglophones, than some other rural areas in France.
There's pockets of that all over the country. There's certain areas where Anglophones
areas of
have settled.
Brittany, definitely. And I think people tend to be drawn to those areas because I've heard the word like, I want a softer landing, right? Maybe you're learning French, but you don't feel comfortable or conversational in it yet. And so
that makes total sense. We're big advocates of doing the best of both worlds, right? Having friends that you speak with in English, friends that you speak with in French, you can do it all. Yeah.
I think the mistake that I have noticed people making is equating a larger Anglophone speaking population with a larger English-speaking French population. These are not the same things. Because in rural France, everywhere in general, there will be a less English spoken by the French population. That's just statistically, most of the cities, there's going to be more English spoken. There's more people coming through there who speak English. There's a younger population. They tend to have more English that they've practiced. I mean, a lot of them have grown up watching American TV shows, American music. So I think, you've heard that there's English-speaking immigrant populations. There's more people to go play pétanque with, but you're still gonna...
Things like public services, the pharmacist,
the mechanic,
the receptionist. Maybe the doctor speaks English, but does the receptionist you need to make an appointment with speak English?
Yeah, the butcher, the cheesemonger, and all this is normal, right? Like, I think that should be the expectation. You're moving to France, people are gonna speak French, and we're not saying anything like that. I think what I want to correct is this idea that a larger English-speaking population of immigrants in a certain area means that there's also more English in the French community. Those are not the same things. So probably you actually want to be in more of a larger city. You're probably going to find more English in French businesses and services than you will out in the rural countryside, even in places where you might have more people to like go to the bar with. Yeah. Okay.
The third reason that you may not want to move to rural France
is if you really value convenience and getting things quickly.
You know, the slower lifestyle, the taking time off, the being closed on Sundays and at lunch, the doing one thing a day, that's true all over France to some degree.
Oh yeah,
it's
when you
much
compare it to the
more
US.
accentuated, it's much truer the more rural you get.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, for one thing, there's just fewer places to choose from. We have one butcher in our village, and whenever he decides to go on vacation, we're going to the village over, right? And he deserves a vacation. So I fully support this. But the reality is, whatever inconveniences that are kind of normal in France, as far as like things being closed for lunch or things being closed on Sundays or just there being fewer options, it's going to be accentuated in the countryside because, you know, businesses are often, I think, smaller, run by families. When someone's sick or someone's on vacation, they're closed. Going to have less
If you order deliveries, they can take longer to get there. If those deliveries have to be dropped off at a pickup location, that's probably going to be further away from your house, and you have to schedule your time to get there.
Yeah.
When it's late and you have no plan for dinner, and you're like, I'm going to order takeout. You know what's hard to do in rural
you're
France?
not.
Ordering takeout.
Yeah.
Challenging.
There's this like wonderful Chinese takeout you can get from a lady who is of Chinese descent and makes Chinese at her house. But like she sends an email out on Sunday for the following Wednesday with what she's going to make, and you got to order ahead and then drive to her house and you pick it up out the kitchen window, which is so quaint and cute, and they're like super nice. But I have to figure out on Sunday if I'm going to want takeout on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
there's a charm there.
It is.
But it's definitely something you have to be cognizant of when you're making that choice.
Right.
Reason number 4 that you may not want to move to rural France.
You have a teenager.
What a great time in life.
It's true, right? So this is one we are speaking from experience here. Because like now, I mean, Juliana's coming up on 15. And like a lot of villages, more than I would have even thought, have a little elementary school.
Yeah, elementary schools are all over the place. College, the middle schools are, again, it's not too far from here to get to middle school. We actually have a middle school here in our town, and lots of other small towns have middle schools as well.
Yeah.
But high school, lycée, totally different matter.
Right.
Those are definitely not going to be in rural villages. You're going to have to travel for those.
Yeah, and not just maybe to your closest one, but we're not going to have a whole discussion about French high school here, but there's, kids can take very specific paths and they go to specific high schools for that. It's this very cool thing, I think, with the French system. But that might mean your kid going to a high school that's not the next closest one, but maybe further away. A lot of French kids even board at their high schools when their families are from rural areas. So that's definitely something you want to take into consideration. The other thing is, you remember what it was like when you were 16? You probably wanted to do more than just sit outside and listen to the birds. But in French cities, the amazing thing, we discovered this recently with Juliana when we were in Périgueux for the week, and she was doing her stage at Dave's at Bookie's bookstore. Oh my gosh. I mean, Périgueux is still a small city, but it's really navigatable, and there's like public transportation, and it's like really, there's lots of things in a small area. And we forgot something for dinner, and she just went out and got it. It was crazy while we were finishing work.
Yeah.
She felt so independent.
There's one-offs that you can do those in villages. That's no problem.
Yeah,
but there are just lots of options that she could walk to. She could walk to go get coffee. She could walk to go get Italian food. She went out took herself to lunch a couple times.
Yeah.
And that feeling of independence, she was like, by the end of the week, she was glowing. She could not believe
I can go do this.
how many things she was out doing.
Yeah, by the end of the week, she was walking to the bookstore on her own in the morning. And there's a skate park there. There's basketball hoops. I can imagine being able to meet up with your friends to do stuff. There's a movie theater. I mean, I don't know. That's I don't think I had that kind of independence when I was in the U.S. before I had a driver's license. And then you have to have a car.
I don't think so. Yeah.
So I think that's a unique, cool thing that can actually help for teenagers with a transition, right? Because then if they do make friends, they may be able to have some more freedom to build their own life here, that you're not carting them around all the time like you would be in the U.S. But That's going to be much harder to do in a sparsely populated area. And even for us, we came with Juliana when she was 11. It was the very beginning of middle school. So she's had 4 years to go through middle school with local friends in the surrounding areas. And so I think even for her, it's a different experience being here now. Whereas if we just dropped her in now, I think it'd be really tough.
Yeah. Okay, number 5. You should not move to rural France if you're an extrovert who wants lots of variety in going out to do things.
Yeah. This one may to some degree go without saying. The food and the markets are amazing all over France, but I can't get spicy ethnic Asian food out here.
The ethnic restaurants are hard to find, and the ethnic grocery stores are hard to find.
Yeah, there's this Korean store in Bordeaux, and she loves to get the ramen there.
We usually stop at the Korean store.
Yeah, there's not enough population, diversity of population usually to support that stuff.
A lot of small towns will have a cultural center, an art center, maybe a small movie theater.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing. But your options are still going to be somewhat limited, right? You've got one show to go to. You've got one viewing to go to.
Yeah.
That can be nice. Very different experience than being able to pick and choose between all the different shows, the theaters, the art expositions that are going on in a more medium-sized town or even larger.
Yeah, and I think maybe we made a mistake in saying if you're an extrovert, because honestly, village life is really because if you do make friends, everybody's going to these same things. So you're going to see all your friends when you go out.
Yeah,
and that's
true.
actually really fun. You don't have to do a lot of planning. But I think the bigger thing is if you want a lot of variety and big musical productions and huge, renowned expositions, you got to be in a bigger city because you're going to eat French food here and see whatever the local committee brings in, which I'm very grateful for, but it's up to their discretion.
Yeah, I mean, another interesting thing too is when we go down to the square, I mean, it feels busy, right? But there's not a lot of people there still.
Yeah, that's
when
true.
When we go to Bordeaux or Toulouse or Paris or Nice, right, and we're walking around, there are a lot more people.
There are a lot more people.
Even if you avoid the shoulder-to-shoulder, real touristy areas, even in the quieter parts of town, it's still much busier. It feels much more active in a lot of bigger cities than it does in the small towns. So for good or bad.
Right, it depends on what you want. I kind of like the in-between of being in an active place, but it doesn't feel overcrowded.
Yeah.
But then other people, you want that energy of a lot of people around you.
Yeah.
So, it's just a different in what makes you happy.
Sure. Okay, the number 6 reason you may not want to move to rural France if
you have complicated medical issues.
Yeah, this is definitely a big one to consider, kind of what your needs are. Here in small village and in a lot of small villages, you've got pretty good medical care, I would say. We see a lot about medical deserts. From an American perspective, it doesn't feel like a desert. I've got pharmacists that can provide care and provide medicine. We've got family practice doctors here locally.
We've got local nurses for things that you need follow up.
Eye specialists.
Yeah.
All great here local, fairly easy process. What we don't have though are hospitals, emergency care, and specialists. Those are something that we're going to have to travel for. For my diabetes, my diabetic specialist is over 60 minutes away by car. She does make runs out to the countryside, but it takes me over 20 minutes to get there to see her, and she only visits once a month to that closest place for me. So it's something you have to consider how often you're going to need these cares, because driving 60 minutes or 25 minutes twice a year isn't a big deal.
Right. But if you have to do it a lot, you need a lot of specialists, it's just going to be harder to find them the further away from a major medical center that you are. And just getting there all the time may kind of be a bummer. The other thing is being close to a hospital that actually has capacity for what you might need. So for example, Bergerac is not too far from us, and there is a small hospital there, but they don't have a very high level of care. So for example, often if you end up there and you need something that is fairly intensive or specialized, you're going to get sent to either Bordeaux or to Périgueux, depending on what it is. So, that's another thing to keep in mind is you might see a hospital on Google Maps, but you want to check into really what kind of capacity does it have, particularly if you already know or you're concerned about particular medical ailments.
And depending on your comfort in French. Another thing to consider with medical care is that a lot of doctors and medical specialists speak some level of English, right? They've got a high level of training. They've probably done some studying in English, so that may not be a problem. But when you have more choices in a larger city, you're going to have more people with they're more likely to speak English, I guess. You're more likely to find a specialist or primary care doctor who is comfortable treating you in English. That may just be an easier lift to make the larger the city that you're in.
Because statistically, right, you've got more options and probably younger physicians who statistically it's going to be easier to find someone who speaks some English. So village and countryside life can be really idyllic. But I think the reality is there are some trade-offs.
There are, and there's probably more than 6. Depending on your situation, some of these particular trade-offs could weigh very heavily on your ultimate happiness in France. It's hard to know how that's going to feel, and that's what scouting trips are for.
Yeah, you can actually live it and then make the decision for yourself.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
A bientôt.